The endless darkness of space spread out in front of the Thunderchild, a huge military ship that showed the greatest strength Earth's forces had to offer. Its black surface soaked up the faint light from distant stars, making it look like a moving patch of darkness against the shining background. Gun openings covered both sides, shut for now, but ready to snap open at any second. The craft glided silently through the void, its engines purring with controlled energy. Captain Mark Reed relaxed in his command seat on the control deck, his gaze locked on the central display. He stood tall with trimmed silver hair and a weathered face that spoke of many years in service. His Navy uniform looked crisp and clean, decorated with medals and symbols that told the story of his long career. "Give me an update," Reed called out, his strong voice filling the control deck. Lieutenant Tom Wilson, a younger officer with nimble fingers and alert eyes, glanced up from his station. "Everything's running smooth, Captain. We're heading toward Sector 47. Nothing strange showing up." Reed gave a small nod. This was just another standard border check in the far edges of human territory. The United Earth Defense Force had sent the Thunderchild to maintain a presence here after hearing about odd signals. Nothing serious, just the usual safety measure. "Keep watching, though," Reed said. "You can't predict what might be waiting in these parts." The team worked calmly at their posts. Some touched glowing screens, others monitored sensor information. Even though they served on a warship carrying enough firepower to level a small planet, the atmosphere felt relaxed. Humans hadn't encountered any serious dangers in many years. These border runs served mostly as training exercises and reminders that Earth remained protected. 3 light years distant, Commander Vex of the Stellar Concord steered his scout craft through an unmapped solar system. His ship, the Horizon Seeker, looked smooth and graceful, designed for velocity and research work instead of fighting. Its outer shell glowed with a gentle blue radiance, showing the sophisticated but peaceful technology powering it. Vex wasn't human. His skin carried a faint purple shade, and his 4 eyes blinked independently as he examined the readings on his craft's monitors. The Stellar Concord, a peaceful union of 15 different alien races, had been exploring this area of space for several months. They searched for new planets to study and possibly make homes on. "Recording number 47, Vex spoke to the craft's computer. "We finished checking the 7th planet in this system. No complex life detected, but the mineral data looks interesting. Heading to the next area for more exploration?" Next to him, Science Officer Mira fine-tuned the craft's sensors. She had bronze-colored skin and 6 thin fingers on each hand. "Commander," she said, her tone gentle but pressing, "I'm picking up an odd energy pattern ahead. It doesn't match our records." Vex leaned closer, his curiosity growing. The Concord valued fresh discoveries above everything else. "How far?" "About half a light year," Mira answered. "It's traveling slowly. Should we take a closer look?" Vex didn't pause to think. "Yes, chart a path, but move carefully. We don't know what we're dealing with." The Horizon Seeker shifted direction, its engines glowing stronger as it sped up. The Concord had never met humans before. Their exploration had taken them far from Earth, and luck had kept the 2 groups apart until this moment. Vex had no clue that this choice would transform everything for his people. Back on the Thunderchild, sensor operator Ryan Garcia suddenly sat up straight. "Captain, I've got something. Looks like a ship, but it's not from our fleet." Reed became instantly focused. First contact moments were uncommon but critical. "Distance and direction?" "About half a light year out, sir. Coming toward us. It's small, likely a scout or research ship." Reed thought through his choices. Standard rules were straightforward. Move in slowly, try to communicate, and show neither weakness nor hostility. Navigation, change course to meet them. Nice and easy. Communications. Get all first contact procedures ready. The enormous human warship turned smoothly, its engines throbbing as it shifted direction. Reed watched the central display with interest. "Let's find out who our new neighbors might be," he said. On the Horizon Seeker, warning sounds suddenly started ringing. Mira's eyes grew wide as she stared at her station. "Commander, the energy pattern. It's moving toward us now." Vex rushed to her side. "Show me." The screen displayed a confusing collection of readings. The sensors struggled to understand what they were detecting. The object appeared massive, much bigger than their small scout craft, but the computer couldn't figure out its exact dimensions or structure. "Might be a sensor error," Vex said, though his tone lacked conviction. "Try to improve the signal." Mira worked urgently at her controls. "I'm trying, but something's odd about it. It's unlike anything I've seen before." Vex made a quick choice. "Bring us closer, but stay ready to jump out at the first hint of danger. And open a communication line on every frequency. If whatever that is can think, maybe we can talk to it." The Horizon Seeker advanced cautiously, its sensors working hard to understand the approaching object. "They're getting closer, Captain," Garcia reported on the Thunderchild. "Still no answer to our messages." Reed's brow creased. "Keep attempting and let's get a visual." The central screen flickered, then displayed a distant speck of light. The computer enhanced what they saw, showing a small craft with an unusual design. It glowed with a soft blue light and showed no obvious weapons. "Interesting," Reed said quietly. "Doesn't look built for fighting. Probably explorers or merchants." Suddenly, Lieutenant Wilson spoke up urgently. "Sir, our automated defense system just activated." Reed turned sharply. "What? Why?" "Unknown, sir. It's reading that approaching craft as a possible threat. Probably just a system glitch." "Turn it off," Reed ordered firmly. Wilson's hands moved rapidly over his station. "Working on it, sir, but the system is doing its standard scan routine. Should reset in 30 seconds. Reed muttered a curse under his breath. This wasn't how you created a good first impression. The Thunderchild's automated defense system was built to activate when unknown ships approached too fast. It wasn't actually firing weapons, just raising shields and running targeting checks, but to someone watching from outside, on the Horizon Seeker, Vex and his team stared in terror as the mysterious object suddenly blazed with crimson lights. What had been a vague shape in the darkness now showed itself as a gigantic warship, covered with gun ports and sensor equipment. As the red glow spread, the real size of the craft became clear. "By the stars," Mira breathed, her voice trembling. It's a battleship." Vex couldn't process what he was seeing. The ship before them was built for one thing only: combat. Its outer shell carried heavy armor, and what they'd thought were simple structural parts were actually enormous weapon systems. The craft easily measured 20 times their scout ship's size. "The energy readings are jumping," Mira called out. "I think it's powering up weapons." Vex didn't wait to see if she was right. "Emergency jump, right now." The team scrambled to start the jump drive, a process that normally required careful planning. There wasn't time for that now. The navigator entered the coordinates for their last position and fired up the drive. Just before the Horizon Seeker vanished into jump space, its sensors grabbed one final complete scan of the human warship. It was a fortunate accident, triggered by the craft's automatic systems as they prepared for the jump. The alien ship disappeared in a burst of light, leaving Captain Reed and his team staring at an empty screen. "They're gone," Garcia said, sounding puzzled. "They just left." Reed sighed and settled back in his chair. "Well, that didn't go according to plan. Did the defense system reset?" "Yes, sir," Wilson confirmed. "False alarm." "Write up a standard report," Reed instructed. "Unknown ship fled before contact could happen." "Nothing to stress about." He turned to his second-in-command. "Probably just got scared. If they return, we'll give it another shot." Reed had no idea that the brief failed meeting would send waves of panic throughout an entire civilization, or that the accidental scan captured by the fleeing alien craft would shift the balance of power in this sector of space forever. The Stellar Concord Central Station floated in space like a giant wheel, slowly spinning to create artificial gravity for those inside. Thousands of lights shone from its many windows, and ships of different sizes and shapes moved around it like busy insects. The station worked as the political center for the 15 peaceful races that formed the Concord. Commander Vex's scout craft, the Horizon Seeker, approached the station at low velocity. Its outer shell still displayed signs of strain from the emergency jump it had performed to escape the human warship. Vex stood on the control deck, his 4 eyes blinking anxiously as he got ready to share his report. Docking clearance granted. Commander, the station's control officer said through the communication system. The Council has been told about your return and waits for your report. Vex nodded, though his thoughts were elsewhere. The image of that huge warship lighting up with crimson energy still filled his mind. In all his years of exploration, he had never encountered anything like it. Understood, he responded. We'll head to Docking Bay 7. As the Horizon Seeker carefully moved into place, Vex turned to Science Officer Mira. Is the scan information ready? Mira nodded, her bronze skin catching the soft lights of the control deck. Yes, Commander. The emergency systems grabbed a surprisingly complete scan. I've set it up for presentation. Good, Vex said. The Council needs to see what we discovered. They need to grasp the situation. The Council chamber was a big circular room at the center of the station. 15 representatives, one from each race of the Concord, sat in comfortable seats arranged in a circle. Above them, a clear dome displayed the stars and nearby ships. The room buzzed with quiet talk as they waited for Commander Vex to arrive. Council Leader Tarn, an elder with light blue skin and sunken eyes, tapped a small crystal on the table in front of him. The sound rang through the chamber and everyone went silent. Let us start, Tarn said, his voice peaceful but carrying power. Commander Vex has returned from his exploration mission with pressing news. Please come in, Commander. The door slid open, and Vex walked in with Mira following right behind. They moved to the center of the circle where a small platform waited. Vex bowed slightly to the council members before speaking. Honored representatives of the Concord, he started. During our regular exploration of Sector 12, we found something unexpected. A ship of unknown origin and design. A ship built for combat, whispers spread through the room. The Concord had met other races before, but none that posed a real danger. Their technology was sophisticated enough that they had never needed to worry about fighting. Vex nodded to Mira, who placed a small device on the platform. It hummed quietly and then projected a three-dimensional image of the Thunderchild in the center of the room. The human warship rotated slowly, displaying its huge size, thick armor, and countless weapon systems. The chamber fell totally silent. This, Vex said, pointing to the image, is what we found. Our initial scans couldn't interpret it because our systems have no reference for ships of this type. When it detected us, it activated what we think were targeting systems, shown by these red lights. The hologram displayed the Thunderchild lighting up with a threatening red glow. We escaped before it could fire, Vex continued, but not before our emergency systems captured this complete scan. Council Leader Tarn stood up slowly, his eyes fixed on the rotating image. He walked around it, examining the warship from every angle. This ship, he said finally, his voice serious, was designed for one thing: combat. Its purpose is destruction. Intelligence Officer Kell, a member of the Council's security team, stepped forward with a data device. She was shorter than Vex, with gray skin and sharp features. If I may, Council Leader, she said, I've studied the scan information. The armor on this ship could resist our strongest weapons with barely any damage. Its attacking capabilities, she paused, checking her notes again as if hoping she had misread. Its attacking capabilities could destroy our biggest ships with a single strike. And based on its energy pattern, this appears to be just a patrol craft, not even a main battlecruiser. The news hit the Council like a physical strike. Representative Dal, from a race known for their peaceful approach to problems, stood up. How is this possible? He asked. No civilization builds such weapons without reason. Who are they fighting? What danger could possibly need such power? Vex shook his head. We don't know. We have no details about these beings except what you see here. We didn't make communication. Tarn returned to his seat, his face displaying deep worry. The question now is what we should do with this knowledge. This ship was in Sector 12, which borders our outer colonies. The chamber erupted in worried talk. Some representatives leaned toward their neighbors, discussing the news in hushed tones. Others stared at the hologram with open fear. Representative Lori, a diplomat known for her balanced approach, raised her hand. We should send observers, she suggested. Learn more about these beings before we decide how to respond. Observers? Representative Dorn snorted. His race was the most aggressive of the Concord, though even they had abandoned warfare centuries ago. While we watch, they could be preparing an invasion force. We should act now while we have the advantage of surprise. Act how? Lori asked sharply. Attack them based on what proof of hostile intent? Dorn pointed at the hologram. That is my proof. No peaceful race builds planet destroyers. Tarn raised his hand for silence, and the room quieted. We will not rush to judgment, he said firmly. But we must be careful. Representative Lori is right. We need more knowledge. However, until we know more, we should take safety measures. He turned to the security officers standing near the door. Issue a warning to all colonies near Sector 12. Start preparations for possible evacuation, and gather our best intelligence team. We need to learn everything we can about these beings without letting them know we're watching. Far away on the control deck of the Thunderchild, Captain Reed was finishing his report about the encounter. The ship continued its patrol route as if nothing unusual had occurred. And you're certain they jumped away before making communication? Admiral White asked through the video link. His office on Earth was bright with morning sunlight, a sharp contrast to the darkness of space visible through the Thunderchild's windows. Yes, sir, Reed responded. One moment they were there, the next they were gone. Probably got frightened when our defense system ran its automatic scan. You know how it lights up the outer shell? The Admiral nodded thoughtfully. Any idea who they were? None, sir. Design didn't match anything in our records. Probably just another independent race testing the boundaries. They'll return if they're interested in trade. Very well, the Admiral said. Continue your patrol and file the standard first contact attempt report. Nothing to stress about. As the communication ended, Reed turned to his second-in-command, Jack Bell. Well, that's settled. Probably nothing will happen from it. Bell nodded but looked thoughtful. Still, I wonder who they were. Maybe we'll meet them again someday? Maybe, Reed agreed, then turned his attention to the craft's path. Navigation, set path for the next checkpoint, standard velocity. The Thunderchild moved deeper into human territory, its team already forgetting the brief encounter. They had no clue that across the stars, an entire civilization was now in panic because of them, or that their routine patrol had just shifted the balance of power in this sector of space forever. Agent Krell's small stealth craft drifted silently in the shadow of an asteroid. From this hidden spot, he had a clear view of the human warship Thunderchild as it moved through space. His ship was the finest the Stellar Concord had to offer, equipped with advanced hiding technology that bent light around its outer shell and absorbed all energy releases. Krell himself was perfectly suited for this mission. His race had excellent vision and hearing, and his training as an intelligence operative had sharpened these natural gifts. Now he sat motionless at his control panel, recording everything he could about the humans. Recording entry 27, he whispered to his craft's computer. This is the third week of observation. The human ship maintains its patrol pattern. No signs they have spotted my presence. He zoomed in on the Thunderchild with his craft's visual sensors. The massive warship looked even more impressive up close. Its dark outer shell was scarred in places, showing it had seen battle before. Gun ports lined its sides, most shut but some open, revealing glimpses of technology that made Krell's skin crawl. Yet, something about the craft confused him. Despite its obvious military design, it didn't act like a ship preparing for combat. The humans followed a predictable patrol route, sometimes stopping to scan nearby planets or asteroids, but never displaying signs of aggressive intent. Krell's mission was straightforward. Learn everything possible about these humans without being spotted. The Concord Council needed to know if they were a danger before deciding how to respond. So far, he had gathered technical information about their craft, intercepted some of their communications, and watched their daily routines. The picture forming was complex and contradictory. Computer, activate long-range communication interceptors, Krell ordered. Focus on the human control deck. The computer hummed softly as it worked to capture and translate the humans' conversations. After a moment, voices filled Krell's cabin. I'm finishing the maintenance on the port side cannons today, a human was saying. Should be ready for the target practice tomorrow. Good, responded another voice that Krell had learned belonged to Captain Reed. Make sure everyone is prepared. I want to see improvement from last month's scores. Krell's hearts beat faster. Target practice. Was this preparation for an attack? He needed to see this. The next day, Krell watched from a safe distance as the Thunderchild approached a field of abandoned ships and large asteroids. His scanner identified the area as a designated military training zone. "All hands to battle stations," Captain Reed's voice came through Krell's interceptor. "This is a drill. I repeat, this is a drill." The Thunderchild's gun ports opened smoothly, revealing rows of energy cannons and missile launchers. Lights across the outer shell changed from white to crimson, and Krell could detect power building in the craft's main systems. "Target the leftmost abandoned ship," Reed ordered. "Main cannons only." What happened next made Krell freeze in horror. A beam of concentrated energy shot from the Thunderchild's forward cannons, striking the abandoned craft. The wreck, which Krell estimated was about the size of a Concord cruiser, didn't just take damage. It split completely in half, both pieces glowing red-hot where the beam had cut through. "Good," Reed said, his voice calm as if what they had just done was routine. "Now target the asteroid cluster. Let's see how the targeting systems handle multiple objects." The Thunderchild turned slightly, bringing its side cannons to face a group of large asteroids. This time, multiple smaller beams fired at once, striking 6 different targets with perfect precision. The asteroids didn't just break apart, they exploded into dust. Krell recorded everything, his hands trembling slightly. The casual precision with which the humans destroyed these targets was terrifying. A single human patrol craft could easily destroy an entire Concord fleet. But more disturbing was how routine it seemed to the humans. They spoke about destroying these massive objects as if discussing the weather. No excitement, no fear, just professional assessment of their performance. "Missile test next," Reed announced. "Let's see if those targeting adjustments worked." Krell watched as the Thunderchild launched a series of small missiles toward distant targets. Each one hit with perfect precision, turning more asteroids and wrecks into expanding clouds of debris. When the exercise ended, Krell sat back in his seat, his mind racing. The Concord needed to know about these weapon capabilities immediately, but there was something else bothering him, something he couldn't quite grasp. Why would a race with such devastating weapons patrol an empty region of space? Who were they protecting themselves from? Later that same day, Krell's patience was rewarded with an unexpected opportunity. His interceptors picked up a casual conversation between Captain Reed and his second-in-command, Jack Bell, as they ate together in what seemed to be a private dining room. "My son's history project is about the Third World War," Bell was saying. "He asked me to share some family stories." Reed nodded, cutting a piece of food. "Your grandfather fought, right?" "Great-grandfather," Bell corrected. "London Battalion. Lost his leg in the fighting, but made it home. 12 million weren't so lucky." Krell froze. 12 million deaths in a single war. He checked his translator, thinking it must be an error, but the number was accurate. "Still nowhere near as bad as the resource wars 50 years later," Reed commented. 30 million dead and half the planet uninhabitable for a decade. Amazing how far we've come since then." The two humans continued eating, discussing humanity's violent history as casually as Concord children might discuss ancient science lessons. Krell recorded everything, his horror growing with each casual mention of conflict that had claimed millions of lives. They spoke of weapons that could destroy entire cities, of strategies developed over thousands of years of nearly constant warfare, of how these conflicts had driven their technological development. "The first space colonization was military, of course," Reed said at one point. "Had to secure the high ground. Old military thinking. Control the high points and you control the battlefield." Bell nodded. "Same reason we're out here patrolling now. Secure the borders. Show the flag. Not that there's much to secure against." Reed chuckled. "Haven't had a real fight in decades. Sometimes I wonder if we're getting soft." Krell couldn't believe what he was hearing. These humans talked about peace as if it was a disappointment while discussing past horrors as if they were merely interesting historical events. 3 days later, Krell witnessed something that changed his understanding completely. The Thunderchild received a distress call from a small transport ship under attack by what the humans called pirates, Krell watched as the massive warship sped up toward the coordinates, moving faster than he had seen before. When they arrived, a small aggressive ship was firing upon a civilian transport, demanding surrender. The Thunderchild didn't hesitate. Captain Reed gave one warning to the pirate craft to stand down. When they refused, a single, precise shot from one of the smaller cannons disabled the pirate ship's engines without destroying it. "Prepare a boarding party," Reed ordered. "Get those civilians to safety and take the pirates into custody." Krell watched in amazement as the humans rescued the transport's team, captured the pirates without killing them, and provided medical treatment to the injured. The same weapons that could destroy asteroids were used with surgical precision to disable a threat without unnecessary destruction. As he observed this scene, Krell made a decision. He needed to report back to the Concord immediately. What he had learned was too important to delay any longer. These humans were indeed the most battle-hardened, well-armed race the Concord had ever encountered. Their technology and military capabilities were far beyond anything the Peaceful Alliance could match. But they weren't aggressors seeking conquest, at least not obviously so, and that made the situation both better and worse than the Conquered had feared. The humans might not be planning an invasion, but if provoked or threatened, they clearly had both the tools and the experience to wage combat on a scale the Concord could barely imagine. The only safe path forward was clear. Peaceful contact needed to be established before any misunderstanding could lead to conflict. Because if conflict came, Krell now knew without doubt that the Concord would not survive it. The Concord Council chamber was filled with tension. Representatives from all 15 races sat in their places, their faces displaying various degrees of worry and fear. At the center of the room, Agent Krell stood beside a holographic display showing the Thunderchild destroying asteroids during its practice session. "As you can see," Krell concluded, "their weapons technology far exceeds our own. A single patrol craft, not even their main battleship, could defeat our entire defense fleet." Council Leader Tarn rubbed his temples, a gesture of deep concern among his people. "And yet you think they are not preparing to attack us?" Krell nodded firmly. "Based on my observations, they show no signs of aggressive intent toward unknown races. They patrol their borders routinely, but don't expand beyond them. When they found a civilian ship in distress, they provided immediate assistance." Representative Dorn slammed his hand on the table. "That proves nothing. They could simply be waiting until they discover more about us. We should strike now while we have the advantage of surprise." Ambassador Lori stood up, her calm voice cutting through the rising tension. "Strike with what? Did you not hear Agent Krell's report? Our weapons would be useless against their technology." "Then we should flee," another representative suggested. "Evacuate our border worlds and move deeper into our territory." The chamber erupted into anxious discussion. Some representatives argued for immediate evacuation, others for attempting to build better defenses. A few still supported Dorn's call for a preventive strike. Tarn raised his hand for silence, and gradually the room quieted. Running would solve nothing. If these humans wanted to find us, they would, and attacking them would be suicide. He turned to Krell. "In your opinion, what is our best option?" Krell didn't hesitate. "Diplomatic contact, carefully planned and executed." "You want us to reveal ourselves to them?" Dorn asked incredulously. "They already know someone is out there," Krell responded. "They encountered Commander Vex's craft. If we approach openly and peacefully, we have a chance to establish relations before any misunderstanding occurs." Tarn considered this for a long moment. Finally, he nodded. "I agree. We will send a diplomatic mission." He turned to Ambassador Lori. "You will lead it. Choose your team carefully." Lori bowed her head. "I accept this responsibility, Council Leader." "This is madness," Dorn muttered. But he was outvoted as the Council formally approved the mission. Tarn addressed the room once more. "The diplomatic ship Starbridge will be prepared for immediate departure. Ambassador Lori will lead a delegation to human space. Their mission: establish first contact and, if possible, negotiate a non-aggression pact." Captain Reed was enjoying a rare moment of quiet on the Thunderchild's observation deck when his communication device beeped. He tapped it and First Officer Bell's voice came through. Captain, priority message from command. Admiral Walsh is requesting immediate communication. Reed sighed. His break was over. On my way to the control deck. When he arrived, the large central screen showed Admiral Walsh's stern face. The Admiral was in his 60s with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Captain Reed, Walsh said without introduction. You're being reassigned temporarily. That alien ship you encountered 3 weeks ago, they're back, and in greater numbers. They're broadcasting greetings on all frequencies. Reed straightened. First contact situation, sir? Precisely. You're the only one who's seen them before, even briefly. I'm taking command of a small group to meet them, including your Thunderchild. Meet up at these coordinates. The Admiral sent a data file that appeared on Reed's console. Understood, sir. We'll get moving immediately. After the communication ended, Reed turned to his control deck team. Set path for the meeting coordinates, maximum safe velocity. And someone find our language expert. Looks like we're going to need him after all. The Starbridge was the pride of the Concord fleet. Not a warship, but a ship of peace designed for scientific missions and diplomatic encounters. Its sleek blue outer shell gleamed in the starlight as it approached the agreed meeting point. Neutral space between Concord and human territories. Ambassador Laurie stood on the control deck, outwardly calm, though her hearts beat rapidly. Beside her, Commander Vex shifted nervously. Are you sure this is wise? He asked quietly. Meeting them in person? Laurie nodded. We need to see them face to face, understand them better. Sensors are detecting ships approaching, reported the navigation officer. Multiple vessels, 6 in total. Laurie and Vex moved to the main viewing screen. What they saw made their blood run cold. Not 1, but 6 human warships were moving toward them in perfect formation. The Thunderchild was among them, now recognizable to Vex, but it was not the biggest. At the center of the formation was an even larger craft, its outer shell marked with additional weapon systems and what appeared to be reinforced armor. They sent a battle fleet, Vex whispered. This wasn't supposed to happen. Laurie swallowed hard but kept her composure. It's a show of force, a demonstration of their power. She turned to the communications officer. Open a channel as planned. We proceed with our mission. On the control deck of his flagship, the Defender, Admiral Walsh, watched the alien ship on the central screen. It was an elegant craft, clearly built for speed and scientific research rather than fighting. Its design showed an advanced civilization, one that valued form as well as function. No weapons detected, sir, reported his tactical officer. Their shields are minimal, defensive only. Walsh nodded. Captain Reed, do you recognize this ship? Reed studied the screen carefully. No, sir. The one we encountered before was much smaller. Similar design approach, though. They're hailing us, Admiral, the communications officer announced. Standard radio waves, multiple frequencies. The computer is already working on translation. Put it through, Walsh ordered. The screen changed to show Ambassador Laurie. The humans had their first clear look at a member of the Stellar Concord. Humanoid in general shape, but with bronze-colored skin and delicate features that seemed almost luminous. Greetings, she said, her voice translated by the computer with only a slight delay. I am Ambassador Laurie of the Stellar Concord, a peaceful alliance of 15 races. We come in friendship and with respect. Walsh stood a little straighter. I am Admiral James Walsh of the United Earth Defense Force. We receive your greeting with equal respect. Laurie seemed to relax slightly at the cordial response. We propose a meeting between our delegations to establish formal contact between our peoples. We have prepared suitable accommodations aboard our ship, the Starbridge. Several of Walsh's officers exchanged glances at this suggestion. Meeting on the alien craft would put the humans at a tactical disadvantage. Walsh smiled slightly. Thank you for your offer, Ambassador. However, I propose we meet aboard our diplomatic ship, the Harmony. It is specially equipped for first contact situations and offers neutral territory for our discussions. What Walsh didn't mention was that the Harmony, while officially a diplomatic craft, was actually a heavily modified cruiser with state-of-the-art defensive systems. Just in case, after a brief pause, Laurie nodded. We accept your proposal, Admiral. When would you like this meeting to occur? We can be ready in 6 hours, Walsh responded. Enough time for both sides to prepare. 6 hours, Lori confirmed. We look forward to establishing peaceful relations between our peoples. As the communication ended, Walsh turned to Reed. Thoughts? Reed considered for a moment. They seem genuinely interested in peace, sir, but they're also clearly intimidated by our presence. Walsh nodded. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Fear can lead to respect, but we need to be careful not to push them toward desperation. He addressed his command staff. Prepare the Harmony for the meeting, standard first contact procedures. And Captain Reed, you'll be joining me in the delegation. Your experience with their first craft, limited as it was, might prove valuable. Reed nodded, feeling a mix of excitement and caution. In a few hours, humanity would officially meet a new alien civilization. History was about to be made, and he would be part of it. He only hoped it would be the peaceful kind of history, not the violent kind that had so often marked human development. The stage was set for humanity's first official meeting with the Stellar Concord. Neither side fully trusted the other, but both hoped for peace. Whether they would find it remained to be seen. The human diplomatic ship Harmony floated in space between the two fleets. Despite Admiral Walsh's description of it as a diplomatic craft, its outer shell still bore the unmistakable design elements of a warship. Gun ports were shut but visible, and its armor plating gleamed under the distant starlight. Inside, the main conference room had been prepared for the historic meeting. A large oval table dominated the center, with chairs suitable for both human and alien bodies. Earth flags stood at one end, while space had been left for Concord symbols at the other. Admiral Walsh adjusted his formal uniform and turned to Captain Reed. Remember, this isn't just about today. What happens here will shape human relationships with alien races for generations. Reed nodded, his own dress uniform feeling stiff and uncomfortable. Yes, sir. I understand the stakes. Good, Walsh said, because I need you to be especially observant. You've seen their craft before, even briefly. You might notice things others miss. A young lieutenant entered the room. Sir, the alien shuttle is approaching our docking bay. Walsh straightened his shoulders. Then let's go welcome our guests. Ambassador Lori felt her hearts racing as the Concord shuttle docked with the human ship. Beside her, Commander Vex looked pale, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly in nervous patterns. Are you sure this is safe? He whispered. We'll be completely at their mercy. We're already at their mercy, Lori responded quietly. But Agent Krell's observation suggests they value diplomatic solutions. We must trust that. The shuttle door opened with a soft hiss, revealing a corridor where several humans waited. Lori recognized Admiral Walsh from the video communication, standing tall in an impressive uniform decorated with symbols she didn't understand. Taking a deep breath, she stepped forward, leading her delegation of 5 representatives onto the human craft. Ambassador Lori, Walsh said with a slight bow, welcome aboard the Harmony. I am Admiral James Walsh of the United Earth Defense Force. Lori returned the gesture. Thank you for your welcome, Admiral. We are honored to be the first official delegation from the Stellar Concord to meet humanity. Walsh gestured down the corridor. If you'll follow me, we've prepared a conference room for our discussions. As they walked, Lori noticed Captain Reed studying them with undisguised curiosity. She also observed that while the humans were clearly military personnel, they carried no visible weapons, a small gesture of trust, perhaps. The initial meeting was tense but cordial. Basic information was exchanged about both civilizations, their territories, their histories, their values. The humans seemed particularly interested in the 15 different races that made up the Concord, while the Concord delegation was fascinated by humanity's rapid technological advancement. Your weapons technology is particularly impressive, Commander Vex noted, unable to keep a hint of fear from his voice. Admiral Walsh's expression remained neutral. We developed most of it fighting each other. Unfortunately, Earth's history is written in blood, Ambassador. For thousands of years, humans waged combat against humans. The Concord delegation exchanged uncomfortable glances. This confirmed what Agent Krell had reported. Humans were a race forged in conflict. Lori leaned forward slightly. If I may ask a direct question, Admiral, why do you maintain such powerful weapons now when you say your race is at peace? Walsh considered the question carefully. Partially out of habit, he admitted, and partially because we learned a harsh lesson from our history. Being unprepared for dangers can be deadly. We build these ships and train our people, hoping we'll never need to use them in combat again. You prepare for war to maintain peace, Laurie said, beginning to understand. Precisely, Walsh nodded. We prepare for combat so thoroughly because we've seen its horrors up close. No race that has experienced what humanity has would ever rush into conflict lightly. The meeting continued for several hours with both sides gradually becoming more comfortable. When they took a brief recess, Captain Reed offered to show Commander Vex and two other delegates around parts of the craft. Nothing classified, Walsh clarified with a small smile. But we have nothing to hide about our general operations. Reed led the small group through the Harmony's corridors, pointing out various sections and explaining their functions. The aliens followed closely, still nervous but increasingly curious. When they passed the craft's mess hall, Vex stopped suddenly, his four eyes widening in surprise. Through the open doorway, they could see several off-duty team members hanging colorful decorations around the room. "What are they doing?" Vex asked, genuinely puzzled. Reed smiled. "It's Chief Garcia's birthday tomorrow. 35 years old. We're preparing a small celebration." "Birthday?" one of the other delegates asked. "Yes, the anniversary of his birth. It's tradition to celebrate with friends, cake, maybe some small gifts." The aliens watched in fascination as the humans laughed together, one of them blowing up balloons while another hung a hand-painted banner. "You celebrate life," Vex said softly. "Even on a warship," Reed nodded. "Of course. These aren't just fighting machines. They're homes. Many team members serve for years on the same ship. We build lives here." As they continued the tour, the aliens noticed other surprising details. Personal photographs in team quarters, small plants growing in growing units, game tables in recreation areas, signs of life, culture, and community that seemed at odds with their perception of humans as warriors. The diplomatic discussions had just resumed when an urgent message interrupted them. A young human officer entered the conference room. "Admiral, we've received a distress call from mining outpost Zeta 9. A stellar flare has damaged their shields. They're requesting immediate evacuation assistance." Walsh frowned. "Zeta 9, that's not one of ours?" "No, sir. It appears to be an independent operation, not human or conquered." Laurie leaned forward. "That outpost is in unclaimed space between our territories. We've traded with them occasionally. They're a small race called the Tari." "How many people are at risk?" Walsh asked the officer. "The message indicates approximately 300 workers, sir. The flare has already begun to increase radiation levels. They have less than 12 hours before it becomes lethal." Walsh turned to Captain Reed. "How quickly can the Thunderchild reach those coordinates?" Reed calculated mentally. 4 hours at maximum velocity, sir." Without hesitation, Walsh made his decision. "Captain, take the Thunderchild and render all possible assistance. The diplomatic meeting will continue in your absence." Reed stood immediately. "Yes, sir." Before he could leave, Laurie spoke up. "Admiral, our ship, the Starbridge, is equipped with medical facilities that might be helpful. Perhaps we could assist as well." Walsh nodded. "A joint rescue operation." "I think that's an excellent idea, Ambassador." 4 hours later, the Thunderchild positioned itself between the mining colony and the raging star. Its powerful shields, designed to withstand enemy attacks, now served a different purpose, protecting the colony from the deadly stellar radiation while evacuation shuttles worked tirelessly. From the Starbridge, Ambassador Laurie and her team watched in awe as the massive human warship absorbed the punishing energy that would have killed everyone on the mining outpost. The craft's outer shell glowed red in places, but its shields held. "Their ship was designed to destroy worlds," Vex said quietly, standing beside Laurie. "Yet they use it to save lives." Laurie nodded, finally understanding what Agent Krell had tried to explain to the Council. "They are warriors, yes, but that doesn't make them conquerors." The next day, with the miners safely evacuated and the diplomatic talks concluded successfully, representatives from both sides gathered to sign a formal treaty of friendship and non-aggression. The Stellar Concord gained a powerful ally, while humanity joined a larger galactic community. As the documents were being prepared, Captain Reed found himself standing next to Commander Vex, both watching the proceedings. "When we first saw your craft," Vex admitted quietly, "we were terrified. We thought you had come to destroy us." Reed looked surprised. "That little scan, that was just standard procedure. To us, it looked like you were charging weapons. It's why we fled." Reed shook his head with a small smile. "Just a misunderstanding, then?" "Yes," Vex agreed. "But I'm curious. Weren't you concerned about meeting unknown aliens? Weren't you afraid we might be hostile?" Reed considered the question. "I suppose we should have been. But humans have learned that fear can be the enemy of understanding. We prefer to hope for the best while preparing for the worst." Across the room, Admiral Walsh was having a similar conversation with a junior Concord officer who had asked if the Admiral had worried about the aliens' intentions. "Of course," Walsh smiled. "But the strongest shields are the ones you never have to use. Sometimes just having them is enough." Later, as the Thunderchild prepared to return to its patrol duties, Reed stood on the observation deck looking out at the stars. He thought about the strange journey that had brought them here, from a routine patrol to a historic alliance. The craft that had once sent ripples of fear throughout the Concord now stands as a symbol of peace, he murmured to himself, finding the irony both amusing and profound. Perhaps that was humanity's greatest strength, not the weapons they built or the wars they had survived, but their ability to use the tools of combat to forge peace when given the chance. The aliens had feared human weapons, but in the end they had come to respect human hearts.